So real quick on my bio, as Mark had said, I was a police officer for 32 years. I retired from the Champlain Police Department in 2016. When I retired, I was a sergeant with our investigations unit. During that period of time, I was involved in a lot of training for our department and for the public that I served. I then, during that period of time, I should say, I have also been an instructor at the police academy. In order to be a police officer in the state of Minnesota, you have to have at least a 2-year degree, and a lot of people have 4-year degrees, and then you have to go through a program that we call skills, and that's where I work in Brooklyn Park, and that program just teaches those things just like it sounds: skills, shooting, driving, defensive tactics, and I teach defensive tactics and in-progress crimes there. I just started my 43rd year, and as I always tease my new defensive tactics students when they come in, first day I've got a fresh set of tennis balls on my walker outside the gym, so I'm always good to go. So today I just want to talk about ways, some of the ways that you can be a little safer. When Mark asked me to speak a couple months ago, I looked at your organization, looked at the situation, and I thought, number one, if we can communicate properly with people or effectively ahead of time, we can reduce a lot of issues before they ever become problems. So I'm going to talk about communications here quite a bit. One of the areas I'm going to talk about is going to be active listening skills. I believe we all would agree there's a difference between talking with someone and communicating with them. We're going to talk about that and how we can do that. I'm going to talk about how the importance of developing relationships with your members as an HOA leader. I think that's really important, and it can really resolve a lot of issues ahead of time when you have to deal with things. And then I've got safety and security suggestions for yourselves, along with what I call mental imaging, and I'll explain what it is when I get to it, and it can be very useful for keeping you safe. And then just some threat assessments and things for meetings that you might have to conduct where you think it might get kind of continuous or contentious, and how you can kind of resolve that. So let me start out with active listening skills. There's 3 areas I want to talk about with active listening skills. Number 1 is attending skills, and then following skills and reflective skills. When I talk about attending skills are whole body type of skills when we're communicating with somebody. But attending skills are whole body skills. And so you ever been talking to somebody and as you're talking to them, they're doing this, or they're sitting on their chair watching TV, clicking away, usually your kids or maybe your husband, clicking away. They're giving you a message. I'm not interested right now. Okay, I'm just not interested right now. So we can say a lot of things. Their whole body skills, posture is one thing, as I just alluded to. Our distance that we're talking with people, we've got this little bubble, right? It's about 3 or 4 feet where we feel comfortable when we talk to people. We get closer than that, and we feel really uncomfortable. It's like, it's this imaginary thing. It's like, whoa, you're way too close here. And on the other side, I don't want to be yelling at someone. So there's that nice distance, that nice communication distance where we both feel comfortable when we're communicating. Eye contact is very important. Eye contact says to people, number 1, you're important to me, and if you're the one that I'm communicating with, you're listening to me, okay? So eye contact is really important in dealing with people. Now, just understand this. There are some cultures where eye contact is not appropriate. Some Asian cultures, and especially like the Hmong culture. I've been involved in training a lot of people from different cultures and assisting them get through some of the testing for police work. And one thing they'll say to me, especially from the Hmong community, they'll start out and say, Bob, I just want to let you know that in my culture, it's not appropriate to look at a peer, someone older than me, in the eye when they're talking to me. And I saw that all the time when I was doing training, is I'd be talking to someone who's younger than me, which was most people, and they'd be looking down. They say, it's not that I'm not listening to you or I'm not interested. That's their culture. So understand that if you have members in your HOA that are from a different culture, especially those Asian or Hmong cultures, and they're younger than you, and they're looking down when you're talking to them, they're probably not being disrespectful. That's what is respectful in their culture. And then non-distracting environments. We'll just talk about any time that you need to deal with someone whether it be an issue or a concern or talk to somebody. You know, it's always easier if we take them away from groups of people or other situations so that we can hear them and they can hear us and we can properly communicate. Next one is following skills. And I talked about door openers. If we need to go talk to someone about an issue or concern, the last thing you want to do, right, is walk up and go, hey, I noticed that you haven't been bringing your garbage cans in. I use that example all the time, but I don't know if it's real or not. But I noticed you haven't been bringing your garbage cans in. Remember, our HOA says you got to bring them in 3 days, okay? Why haven't you been bringing your garbage cans in? Bring them in. Already what we've done is we've started the communication on a negative side. And so now they're like, in their mind, they're like, I'm not listening to you. Not in those words, but I'm not listening to you. So we want to start out with, you know, some sort of greeting. It's a door opener. Good morning. How you doing this morning? Hey, listen, I noticed that your garbage cans, and we can start out that way. It starts our communication. It starts a whole situation out in a whole different foot. Okay? Minimal encourages. These are where you're telling someone, I'm listening to you. These aren't quite as important when we're having in-person contact communication. Like right now, I'm looking around at some of you as I'm talking, communicating, and I see you doing this. You're telling me, I'm hearing you, okay? Doesn't mean you agree with me, but I'm hearing you. Those are minimal encourages. The issue is if we're talking to somebody on the phone, they can't see us, okay? So we need to give those minimal encourages about every 20, 25 seconds, just to let them know we're still there. It's a little, okay, and they're just saying, I encountered this because as a supervisor when I was working nights, I might get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from a citizen who has a question. And as they're talking to me, I'm listening to them. But after I'm not giving any minimal encourages, I didn't understand this. And so after 2 or 3 minutes, they're like, are you still there? Yes, sir. I wasn't snoring, was I? Yes, sir, I am. I'm just listening to you. And they're like, oh, okay. But what I should have been doing is giving those minimal encourages because they didn't know if I fell asleep, if I stepped away from the phone or whatnot. So I want to give those minimal encourages to tell them, I'm still here, I'm still interested, and I'm still listening to what you're saying. Active listening or attentive silence. Here's what I say is good active listeners are holding back all their questions. And what they're thinking when I was working or when I'm trying to listen to somebody, like I had a conversation outside with Mark about a different subject that we'll talk about. And as he's explaining things to me, I'm like drawing this picture in my head. Okay? And as people are explaining things to you, or when I was on the job, they'd say, you know what, I'm calling you because of this situation, and they start to describe some sort of problem, just like if they come to you and say, you know, Bob's not bringing in his garbage cans, and they're starting to describe it, you're starting to paint this picture. Okay, well, I know where Bob lives, okay? And they're saying and he's been leaving 2 of his cans out for 3 days, okay? Now I'm thinking, okay, I put 2 garbage cans out in front of Bob's place, okay, and they're over here. And I'm painting this picture as they're telling me. They're filling in the picture as we're going. And now I might have questions. I'm thinking, well, I wonder when he put his garbage cans out. But I don't need to ask that right now, okay? When it gets all done and the picture's been filled in, now I can ask questions to try and fill those areas in that I have questions about. That's what attentive listeners and use active skills to do. So they listen to people. Reflective skills is the next one. Paraphrasing is something that we talk about and we teach police officers all the time. Something that you can do real easily. As long as you don't do it sarcastically, okay? It's just simply repeating back to somebody what they've said so that you understand. The nice thing about paraphrasing is that it tells the person that you were listening to, I was listening to you, it was important, and I got it right. Because when they get all done and you say, okay, so let me make sure I get this right. You're concerned because Bob puts his garbage cans out on Monday, we don't get garbage service until Thursdays, and then he leaves them out until Sunday. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. And the nice thing about paraphrasing is that if I got that wrong, people don't wait till the end. They don't go, yeah, you got everything right except for this. Oh, no. They stop you in a heartbeat, okay? As you say, so let me get this right, and they go, no, it's this. Okay, that's right. And then you move on there. No, it's this. Okay, I got that. And then when you're all done, we come back and paraphrase it again. So now that I have it right, let me make sure I go over this again. Bop, 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 bop. And we go through it. It's really effective. Reflective feelings, when we're looking at when somebody's telling us something, do their feelings or how they're expressing themselves match what they're saying? Okay? I'm going to put the mic down for a second because it's going to get a little louder. If somebody comes to you and says, I am not upset about this, but I got to tell you that if they keep doing this, it is very irritating. It doesn't bother me much, but other people, okay, their feelings and their actions don't match their words, right? So we try to put those together and say, well, in my mind, you're obviously upset about this because you might say you're not, but you're indicating you certainly are. And we tie them together and when we summarize them. So I would say, so I can obviously see that this concerns you or this upsets you, okay? So this is what's going on, and I go through, paraphrase it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the board. I can't make decisions on my own. Go back to the board. I'm going to bring your concerns to them next time we meet, which is on such and such a date. And we're going to talk about this. And then we'll talk about what we can do about it, and I'll get back with you. Wonderful. And that's exactly how it would go, right? Right? Okay, hopefully. Talk about body language, okay? I put up 2 percentages there because those both came from professional sources. So the point is that we say a lot of things with our body that we don't say verbally. And we just have to be aware of what we're saying to people. Not only what they're saying to us, but what we're saying to them when we're expressing our communication, okay? We say a lot of things that we don't even say verbally. So these areas that we can express ourselves are facially, body posture movements, and gestures and actions, all right? Facially, we say a lot of things, right? Through surprise, through smiling, through different reactions on our face, and we tell people different things. It was interesting. My mother-in-law was 98 when she passed away 4 years ago, a great lady, but I'd be saying something, and she did this to a lot of people, and I'd look at her face, and her face would be like, she obviously didn't agree, and I'd say, well, you don't agree? And she'd go, I didn't say anything. She said that all the time. Well, I didn't say anything. And I'd say, you didn't have to say anything. It was pretty obvious. But how many people I didn't say anything. Well, you're squinting your face. We get it, okay? We can say a lot of things that way. Body posture and movements. Again, I use this analogy that you come home and your husband or wife are sitting watching TV and you're talking to them and they're going, yeah, go ahead. Okay. They're telling you right now is not the right time. Okay. Right now is not the right time to send a message. And then your gestures and actions and whatever you're saying. We all are just saying different things. So let me talk about relationships with your HOA members. Okay. I think this is really important. Because if you have relationships with people so that they know you, even if the relationship is somewhat contentious, and it's like, I don't really get along with them too well, but I can talk with this person. If you have a relationship, it's going to make it much easier for doing your job if you have to bring some sort of issues or concerns forward to them, okay? Make contact with people in person over concerns. I've got a lot of family and friends who are involved in HOAs. Many of them have very good experiences. Several of them don't. Okay, specifically my daughter. I'm not going to say what HOA she's involved in. It's not this one. But the fact of the matter is that she gets letters from these people on little minor things, what she considers to be minor and what I would consider to be minor, little violations. And it just irritates the heck out of her. Okay? If there's an issue or concern and it's big enough to go to deal with, you should go talk to those people about it. Have enough confidence to go in and say, hey, listen, this is a concern. It was brought to my attention that you're leaving your garbage cans out when you shouldn't, okay? Just understand this is what the guidelines say, and people are concerned about it. Talk to people. And not only do you get that in-person contact, but you get to hear why. Maybe you weren't aware, I'm really sorry about that, but my mother passed away last week and I was out of town. Or I've got this issue, this concern, and now you can get involved in that and you can help, okay? If you can't do it in person, I would say do it on the phone. You just get a whole lot of people respect you so much more if you're able to go up and talk to them or call them on the phone if you can't talk to them in person. A lot more respect. Is it easy? No. No, it's not easy. I used to have officers say to me as a supervisor, oh, it's really easy for you to tell us that we didn't do that right or to give us direction. No, it isn't really easy for me. In fact, I get butterflies in my stomach, and no, it isn't easy, but you know what, it's my job. And so I need to do it for the best thing for our department. Same thing for you. And compromise is great. You get to talk to people and you get to understand why something's going on. And so you can either maybe compromise or you can say, you know, let me help you out there. I wasn't aware that your mother passed away and I'm really sorry about that, okay? How can I do to help you here so that we can resolve this issue? And then talk about options. One of the de-escalations that I talk about, we talk about this in law enforcement also, is anytime we get in a situation that makes us really nervous, we call it fight or flight. And hopefully you don't get in a lot of those situations where your body thinks that you're fighting for your life, but you'll get different chemicals that are going to drop into your body. Your body's going to secrete these chemicals, adrenaline, epinephrine, different types of chemicals to try and kind of help your body stay alive because it doesn't know, okay? Well, when we get real nervous and things like that, one way that we can dissipate that and kind of bring down our level of apprehension is through deep breathing techniques. And what we do is we just breathe in nice and slow to about 8 or 9, count that up to about 8 or 9, hold your breath for a couple seconds, and then breathe it out all the way down to 1. Do that 2 or 3 times. Helps us kind of calm ourselves down and to start to dissipate some of those chemicals that our body has put into to ourselves. Maintain your appropriate distance. And the big thing is, you know what, my thing is, don't argue with people. Even if you disagree with them, okay, you're not going to change your mind unless that's what your whole purpose was. But we can all have differing opinions, and we've gone through that in our society here in the last 4 or 8 years, okay? We can have a difference of opinion. I don't have a problem with that, okay? I'll allow you through active listening to express yourself. Allow me to express myself, and we can walk away with not agreeing, but just move on, okay? So don't argue. And then the other thing is, it's my number one issue of if you go someplace and you've got a concern or you're returning something or some sort of issue is when people start making excuses. I don't want to hear it. Don't make excuses to whoever you're dealing with. Well, you know, we didn't get on that because we've been really busy. Well, you know, it snowed, and so, you know, we didn't get to that. Or, you know, I got a lot of stuff going on too, you know. People don't want to hear that kind of stuff. Now, a reason, an explanation is very different than an excuse, okay? Don't make excuses to people. Take their information, then move forward on however you normally handle a situation. And the big thing is let people tell you their concern, okay? I talked about this a lot where when people would call me as a supervisor, and it might be a complaint on an officer or maybe just another situation, about 90% of the time when they get done talking, okay, I would say, thank you for calling. I always thank people for calling. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Because if they didn't call me, the next time they were going to talk about that issue or concern was to their neighbors, to some group, to the friends, and they're going to badmouth us without ever giving me an opportunity to address the situation. So I would say, thanks for calling, I really appreciate that. Let me just ask you a question. What would you like to see me do? And 90% of the time they'd say, I don't want to see you do anything. I wanted to tell somebody. I just wanted to vent to somebody that I thought had some authority, and I want to let you know about the issue or concern. And it's probably the same way with you. I mean, we all get irritated. We were just talking outside with Lynn, Mark, and I about neighborhood disputes and stuff, and people, you know, don't liking what your neighbor's doing. We all have those issues, and so sometimes we just have to vent because our wife or our husband won't listen to us. So it's like we just have to vent on that. Let's talk about some meeting de-escalations. I only got about 5 minutes here, and I can get through this in 5 minutes, no problem, as long as I stand right here. So when we talk about this, okay, first of all, understand that I know you're going to have meetings ahead of time where people are going to be upset. You would probably understand the issues or the concerns, okay? First of all, again, if you get contacted, like you're walking down your sidewalk and you're just out for your regular walk and somebody comes up and says, hey, I know you're part of the board, I've got this issue, okay? Keep that distance, be an active listener, and let them talk, okay? Let them give you their information. And then afterwards, again, just like I said before, what would you like to see me do? I'd like to see you bring it to the board, or I just wanted to make you aware of it so you could be kind of, you could kind of watch for it, whatever it might be. Thank them for telling you and explain then what decisions are going to be made. I'm going to take this to the board and then we'll get back to you on this, what it might be. Again, never make excuses. When I talk about mental imaging, what I talk about on this is creating a situation in your mind that you believe you might encounter. And it might be part of your HOA. In here I've got a slide, if I get to it here, about your meetings, okay? But create a situation in your mind that you might encounter. Like maybe you might encounter someone who's angry about what's going on or the decisions you've made at HOA. You meet them on the sidewalk, okay? And they're angry and now they're becoming very upset. How can we handle that? How can we deal with that? And go through that in your mind. So now if it happens and when it happens, okay, you've got some options in order to choose from in order to handle that situation. It really assists you in handling those situations right away rather than just reacting. I've given a couple examples here, and in the paperwork you've got these examples, so I'm not going to go over them for lack of time. But these are some of the things I could see that you could possibly encounter and probably have encountered as an HOA leader, okay? And then just the last thing here is if you're dealing with some real contentious issues or something coming up, maybe again, the issue is I got neighbors who are smoking marijuana in their home and I know it's against the HOA and we need to deal with this. And these contentious issues, and you got both sides coming in, all right, ahead of time, we want to make sure, first of all, that all the board members are aware of what the issues is going to come up if we know about those ahead of time, okay? We know these issues are coming up so that we are all kind of in agreement how we're not going to just make a decision, but how we're going to deal with this during the meeting. Give those people an opportunity to talk. As long as it's not getting physically out of control, let those people talk. Let them explain what they need to explain. Sometimes what you have to do is say, we have a lot of people today that are going to be here, so we're going to limit our conversations on what you have to say to 5 minutes. As long as you say that ahead of time, then you're not cutting people off. And then if things start to get physical, just know what we're going to do. We're going to back away, the board's going to leave, someone's going to call 911. A couple weeks ago, real quick, we were in Bloomington, and after the class, or this session, a gentleman came up to me and said, it's really interesting because tonight we have an HOA meeting and we've got a board member who has sued all the other board members, and now we're going to talk about these issues tonight. Sounded like a meeting, sounded like something should be on cops, right? So I said, ooh. So I gave him some suggestions ahead of time on how to kind of control that. And one of those things is to make sure you put a monitor in the room. The back doesn't have to be identified by anybody who's going to monitor everyone else, and if things start to get out of control, they're the people that are going to be calling 911, giving indications to the board members it's time to leave, things like that. They're kind of monitoring everything. So there you go. Remember, communication is your best thing. The best way to deal with people is to properly talk to them. It's one of the hardest things we can do, but it's one of the most rewarding and also one of the best ways for people to give you respect. Talk to them about issues. And a lot of times, again, we may not agree in the end. That's okay. That's okay, as long as we understand. And as leaders, there's going to be issues that people need to talk to you about.